Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. The fellas are heading out to the Big Ten, where the Penn State Nittany Lions go on the road to Ann Arbor, maize out, noon kickoff. This environment's going to be electric. The maize out last year against Washington was buzzing. This is going to be a really fun game. This Penn State team was very underrated to come into the season, but this defense is absolutely dominant. It's a very talented defense, and Manny Diaz really cuts it loose and lets these guys get aggressive. Excited to get into this game. Before we do, though, as usual, just want to say thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown the channel, especially the Big Ten fans. We chopped it up a lot with the Illinois fans last week. We really do appreciate all your support. We just hit 2,000 subscribers, so if you do like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We really do appreciate all the support you guys have shown. Dill, I'm going to kick this one off to you. What are your initial feels on this game here?
Yeah, I mean, this is Michigan's first real test, and I think I'm personally very excited for it. It's hard to get up for games where the only outcome can kind of be is you lose a heart. The only outcome that makes you feel anything is you lose a heartbreaker, right? You play the Marylands, you play the Iowas, you just expect to win, and at least I do. And the reward is very little because it's just you expect it. So now I feel like Michigan's got a test where it's you can lose it. For sure, when you play a defense as good as Penn State, you definitely can, but you also feel really good about a win. So I'm personally really excited for that.
I want to start on the offensive side of the ball here, just because this Penn State defense is one of the best in the country. You look at what they've done. Their secondary is, in my opinion, maybe barring Alabama and Georgia, the most talented secondary we've seen in the country. Joey Porter Jr., legit first-round talent, has passes defended, I think, 10 on the year. Jair Brown, pretty much all over. He's just a ball hawk. Keaton Ellis, Johnny Dixon has done a really good job. This is a very complete secondary, coupled with an active front seven that's only allowing 2.9 yards per carry to opposing offenses. My big question is, when we see Michigan struggle on the offense side of the ball, it's because they cannot get that run game going with Blake Corum. Indiana gave Michigan's offense a little trouble in the first half. You were loading a lot of boxes, a lot of single high safety, 8-man boxes, and Michigan struggled early. Dill, I think for Michigan to win this football game at home, J.J. McCarthy's going to need to win this football game. He's going to need to get it done through the air. That's kind of the story of this. You think he can do it?
That's the thing. It's like you look at Indiana. They played the box really tight.
Yes.
But that made it pretty easy for Michigan to throw on them because they really don't have a good secondary. So it's like they can stack the box with 8 men, but then when Michigan was throwing the ball, it was fine. Well, it was fine. They were cutting through them pretty effectively. The problem with Penn State is if they want to load the box and commit to stopping the run, which I suspect they probably will, just given how difficult it's going to be for them to deal with Michigan if they allow Blake Corum to get loose. But then they have the horses in the back end to play one-on-one and be very difficult to deal with. So, yeah, I think the blueprint to beating this Penn State team on defense, at least, is you need to be pretty much perfect as a quarterback, like what O'Connell was able to do, where he didn't miss any of those 5-yard outs or anything that they gave him. He took it and no mistakes. And I think that's what Michigan's going to have to do. And I guess the one thing JJ's done, as much as he's missed a couple of bad deep balls, he's been pretty effective with his underneath throws, getting out of the pocket and making things happen. So I think they got a chance, but they certainly got their work cut out for them.
And I want to see Michigan kind of test the tackling ability of Penn State as well in the secondary. And that's something JJ does really well. He hits his wide receivers in stride where they can make stuff happen after the catch. Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson, AJ Henning, Roman Wilson. Hopefully Roman Wilson's back. That's a big story to kind of monitor because it's hard to get it there. I mean, Joey Porter Jr., Johnny Dixon, they're really good in coverage. I want to see if we can get the ball into their hands early and force them to tackle. And also in pass pro, this is something Michigan's done really well. I mean, you noted it. JJ has not been under much pressure. A lot of clean pockets to throw against, but this is a good pass rushing unit. Chop Robinson coming over from Maryland. The true freshman, Dennis Sutton, has been really good. Obviously, P.J. Mustipher up in the inside. Keeping JJ clean, staying on schedule, and then getting the ball to the wide receivers early and making the secondary tackle. I want to switch over now. Sean Clifford. You never know what you're really going to get with Sean Clifford. I'm kind of a Sean Clifford believer or stan, as you will. I don't think he's as bad as the national media likes to say. And this year he's been pretty solid. A 63% completion percentage. He's only turned the ball over twice. But you never really know with Sean Clifford. It almost seems like he's kind of a lock to throw in one of those interceptions like when they were playing Purdue, where just air mails one and it gets returned or pick six. And they're really like heart-stabbing interceptions. Like at the worst possible moments, it seems like Sean Clifford's MO, and that's why he gets a bad rep. I'm looking for this Michigan pass rush against the Penn State offensive line that's been more improved since last year, but still question marks. I mean, this Michigan pass rush is elite, like very, very good. If you can get Sean Clifford off the spot, force him into some of those throws that kind of are those game-breaking throws, I think Michigan can force some turnovers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Penn State, like, still not a great unit up front for sure, but getting better. And honestly, I thought against Auburn, as much as I didn't think they looked very good against Purdue, I think they played a pretty solid game against Auburn. And while it is true, they certainly ran the ball pretty effectively, which no doubt helped what they were able to do against that Auburn pass rush. I still think they held up okay against one of the better units in the country. So, I mean, you're right. Michigan does need to turn it up, and that D-line is getting way better since the first couple of weeks, I think, and especially against the Maryland game. And I think if they can turn it loose and you get guys like Iabi Oki playing really well and Mike Morris can continue at the level he's at, I think that's probably how Michigan can make it really hard for the Nittany Lions to move the ball.
And that's one thing we've talked about with Michigan is as good as this defense has been, only allowing 11 points per game, the turnovers haven't been coming in droves, like 1.2 turnovers per game forced for this Michigan defense. That number needs to be closer to 2 or 3 in this game. I think it can be with Sean Clifford, and you noted it. A lot of people had question marks about this Michigan pass rush, losing Aiden Hutchinson, losing David Ojabo. And we've been saying it's going to be a committee. There's a question mark there, but it's going to be more by committee. And you've seen a plethora of guys step up. Iabi Oki, coming off the edge, being a dog. Mike Morris, Jalen Harrell, Braden McGregor, and Mozzie Smith on the inside. It's a very, very good pass rush. Another question, and this is something that plagued Penn State, and they're doing a much better job of it this year, is can Penn State run the football? They could not run the football worth a dang last year. You bring in 2 true freshmen, Nicholas Singleton and Kayshawn Allen, both averaging well over 5 yards per carry. Penn State running the football, you got to watch out for more than you had to last year.
Yeah, and that does, I think, take a lot of pressure off of Clifford. I think you even see it with his numbers, much less turnovers.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not a Clifford believer just because I always say it, but I feel like everything with him just looks really hard. Just completing a pass always seems like it takes like a lot of scrambling around, a lot of craziness to kind of happen. So I don't think that's a good recipe to beat these big dogs like a Michigan. But on the flip side of that, he does make a couple of magic plays. So I think Michigan, if he can hit a couple of them and Penn State can play really good defense like you think they can, I mean, Michigan could be in trouble. I think this will come down to can Michigan move the ball, because I don't think anyone expects Penn State to score a ton of points on Michigan, nor do I. But if they can hold them down and make it really ugly and hard, I think that's how Penn State can beat teams like Michigan or Ohio State even.
Yeah, can Penn State move the ball against Michigan? That's tough sledding, but then I think it'll be a defensive battle. You look at the point total, it's 51. It's that low for a reason. Both defenses are very good. Both offenses want to run the football. And one other thing I want to note before we kind of get to the pick is Penn State doesn't really have a game-breaker wide receiver like they've had the past couple of years. Jahan Dotson was that offense downfield last year. I thought it would be Parker Washington. He's been solid, but nothing special. 20 catches for 285 yards. Mitchell Tinsley's been a nice addition from Western Kentucky, I believe. But outside of that, it's just been the tight end. Like, they don't have too many game breakers on the outside. So eliminating those explosive plays, making Penn State march the ball down the field, making Sean Clifford, as you know, make all those passes, stay accurate consistently, not turn the ball over, I think is going to be a key. Michigan's been very, very good, not allowing explosive plays. One thing we did see, they were getting a little handsy downfield last year, limiting those like defensive pass interferences, which a couple of them were questionable, but I mean,
they were playing handsy. You're right. I mean, there's no doubt about that, especially DJ Turner. I mean, he was getting his hands on wideouts, and that's how Michigan's always played. But of course, you don't want to see those penalties against a Penn State.
And sometimes it gets on, and sometimes it doesn't. That's just kind of how it goes. It depends on the refs. Like those refs against Indiana were just, I mean, both ways. They were calling a lot of contact down the field, pass interference, and sometimes when you get those Big Ten refs, they'll let them play on. You really never know. That'll be something interesting to monitor. Dill, I'm going to kick it over to you for the pick. Michigan coming in as 7-point favorites. What's your lean here? Obviously, we're probably not giving out official picks as we are kind of Michigan fans. How are you feeling with this?
I mean, that number, if I'm an outside bettor, it's not a tantalizing number
Me neither.
against this Penn State team. I mean, it's almost always been, well, not always. I guess they've blown each other out once or twice, but throughout Harbaugh's tenure, it's been a pretty back-and-forth battle with Frank.
And mostly at home. Like, Michigan goes on the road during the whiteout and doesn't win. And then when Penn State comes to the big house, they don't win. And normally those games are pretty lopsided. So that is an interesting to note is when Penn State comes to Ann Arbor, they haven't had very much luck. But when Michigan goes down the Happy Valley, that's when Penn State gets
the thing is, Penn State's never had a defense like this. Like, they've had explosive offense at times, but they've never had a wildly dominant defense. And I think that you're right. When you have a secondary as good as they have, I think you can do a lot against college teams because you can kind of commit yourself to stopping the run pretty easily, as you saw even Indiana do. So I think if you have the back end to play really aggressive in stopping the run, you can make it really hard. And Manny Diaz, as much as he failed at Miami as a head coach, he knows how to coach defense for sure.
He's a great, and what I love with what he's doing, we noted earlier, he's letting these athletes get after. It's not a very conservative defense. Like, they send pressure, they ask their guys to kind of be on an island on the secondary, and they have the personnel to make that happen. I'm kind of with you. This is a game that I think Michigan wins this game, maybe a little biased. But 7.5 -7, like, this is going to be a close game.
Penn State's not bad. Why are they setting this line like it's last year's Penn State team? This Penn State team is quite a bit better, I think.
I think you're definitely getting some home field advantage, which 100% will be a factor, and the crowd will be a factor. This is probably the best game on the slate, I think. This is going to be a good one. We'll wrap it up on that. Not taking any sides on this one. Obviously hoping for a Michigan win, but it will be a very good game. Penn State is the real deal. We appreciate all the support you guys have shown again. So if you do like the content, you do like talking college football, Big Ten football especially, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys. For real. Peace.